So moving forward with this Star Carr project, this is the antler that we took the soft hammer off, and before we start hitting the flint we really need to have an idea of what we're trying to achieve. And looking at this, I've got a nice straight piece of antler, comes a long way. That could be put into a shaft, and I could set out along here and think about the harpoon itself. And so there we go. What we'll do is I'm thinking through this angle here. Probably bring it right up to about there. And then what we could do is we could think about setting some teeth in here. So removing this section, through here, what I'm shading in, we'll be removing all that. So I've got one, bit more space in there, 2, 3 good barbs on that side, and so something like that is what I'm actually trying to achieve on this. So you can imagine that's quite a bit of work just using flint tools alone, isn't it? You probably have to take a little bit of that off to make that straight. So essentially what I believe I'm going to do is burring through here and here, the same on the back, and then push that out. Which brings us back to this lovely chunk of flint, doesn't it? And we're going to take a series of tools from the front here, and then what we're going to do is we're going to adjust them flakes that come off and turn them into tools which are going to be perfectly suitable for approaching that. So here we go then. The technique that I will be using is going to be employing a nice heavy quartzite boulder, so I can use that in a fairly soft landing fashion without striking this too hard. That's the first one. And what we're doing is we're going to be generating the face of the blade core by doing this. They've come off beautifully, and what they've done is they've left us a soft rounded run of flint here, so that first flake can just be sent straight down there. Got a little finger of flint stuck in here in the chalk, but that can stay there for now. Have to hold these things quite carefully. The secret is not to bash it too hard. So that flake right there, that's going to be usable. And the next part, which is quite important, is you can see that that scallops in a little bit here. So we're going to reduce that down so it hasn't got that to it, which is done quite simply by using a more abrasive hammer stone. And you're getting little microliths just by doing that alone. All these would have been used, perfectly suitable. You'll also notice that I tilt the flint downwards so that I don't get lots of little hinged flakes. We have a small suggestion of a hinge here, but nothing too much to worry about. So on this occasion, instead of using this particular antler, which we saw in the last video, that was having a few problems because it really does need grinding in, I'll use one of my favourite antlers, which is one that's actually been rounded off. And we're literally going to lay that on there, and it's just a case of dropping that back home. Let's see what we've got there. Look. So the tools are beginning to come, look. You can see right through this. Again, this is really now talking about the quality of this particular piece of material. And then we'll go down here. So we'll just check its platform head, which is, call it a platform, call it a launch pad. It's the bit we're going to connect with. It wants to be nice and solid. You'll see a lot of people approach blade cores in a different fashion. Quite often you'll see the introduction of a punch, and that is a useful tool, particularly if you're not very good at getting your shots on target. But after about 1,000,000 gun flints, I'm fairly happy that I can hit where I want to hit. Sometimes you pass them through with a bit of power, because what you want is you actually want to be forging the shape of the blade core as well. And on the side here, where we haven't got into the planning, it goes in and bellies out. So we do need to bring that about so that we can contain a horseshoe shape right at the front. But the blade core is beginning to show itself now. You're looking at these flake scars, and there where we're going to be generating flakes down. So I'll do a bit more steering on this whole blade core right now by taking some things out which won't contribute to helping us out later. That's handy. That's really good, because now what we've got is we've really got a good quality horseshoe going on there. And again, more microliths. I don't think we can begin to imagine how dearly they would have paid for a piece of flint like this up at Star Carr during its day. I don't even think they had a piece of flint up there as good as quality as this. That's nice. And one of the interesting facts about the Mesolithic period is because a lot of it was quite small material like this, which was associated to travelling, being fairly nomadic, it's very, very hard to find an encampment after all that time. And so Star Carr is an amazing site on account of the fact that they were doing well there. There was even there was post holes at one particular point on it showing that they'd actually built somewhere to live, which is in some respects a little what we'd consider unusual for the Mesolithic period. But I don't know, if life's good, you're going to stop. I'm hoping for this blade to be a perfect one. It'll probably run into this little bit of chalk sitting in there, but we can adjust the tip of that. Oh, slightly missed. So what we are getting is we're getting two flakes, one behind the other. And what that represents is the fact that this is a little bit messy, and it's double, we're getting 2 points of impact instead of just one. We'll take one more flake, and then I think what we've got is we've got the toolkit we're looking for. These two lines actually come to a point, and if I play my hand well, we might be able to get the flake to end where we actually get a nice point. Now, one more point I'd like to add is the further back that I take that, the thicker I'll make that flake become, because we're going back into the stone. But there we go. I think we've got enough flakes there at this point in time, so what we can do is we can start to generate some of the secondary tools. So the first tool we're going to go for here is going to be the burin. This little flake here I'm quite liking the look of. Doesn't need to be super long, and with the flat side presented to me, which is the side that it released from the piece of flint from, I'm going to take all the sharp edges off. And then what I'm going to need is I'm going to need an antler tine. Funnily enough, I think I'm happy just to use that on here, while we've got it on here. That will serve the purpose. So I'm going to take a little leather pad, pop that in my hand on its side, and then approach the working tip literally start pushing the flakes down the side. When they're set up right, they're nice and strong. So this little burin is ready now to start approaching this piece of antler. And the first thing I'm going to do is keep my hands nice, and I'm not trying to take long cuts through here. All I need to do is put a steady line in and begin to scribe into there. And that's actually doing that quite nicely. It's going to take a while, so we're obviously not going to be recording the whole thing. But I promise you I won't cheat. So let's look at the possibility of making a saw as well. That little straight edged blade here, as it is a good knife. In actual fact, I've got a couple of choices here, so I'm going to use that one for the saw. And again, the first thing I'm going to do is described as backing it, making it safe. And then the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the blade edge of this one, and I'm literally going to put a set of teeth. And what we have there is the teeth. You'd be quite right in suggesting that they're not going to last very long, and that's true. And I once upon a time I used to try and use these gently, trying to defend the teeth. But I don't anymore. I use them abruptly, which actually causes the teeth to degenerate. But at the same time, what you still end up with is a profile of bumps, and you can see that will do its job quite happily. The one other tool that actually came off, which was the first blade itself, has got a really heavy crest line here, and that's like, for a want of a better description, that's a cabinet, every day that's a cabinet scraper. And a seriously effective one. So that's a good starting grid on this, and I just need to put a bit of time in that, so I'll drop in periodically and show you some progression, and we'll move this whole thing forward.